Welcome to Magic Arcanum. I'm Ryan Gomez. Behind the camera is Nicole Letson, and we're so glad you're here because it's story time. If this is your first time joining us, welcome! You picked a great time to start watching because we just reached 3 million views across the series. And to celebrate, we're talking about the face of Core Set 2020, Chandra. In the description below, you'll find links to a few fun decks you can make with Chandra, including a budget one that's perfect for Magic Arena or your next Friday Night Magic. So make sure you take a look at those when we wrap up here. Okay, so who is Chandra exactly? To understand her history, we're going to look at everything she's done since Magic Origins, which is a great jumping in point if you're new to the game's story. Now, Chandra appeared in a set called Lorwyn well before Magic Origins, but since a lot of her story since then was later changed or just wasn't told well to begin with, it's actually safe to ignore most of that. I do want to point out though, Chandra Nalaar was one of the first 5 Planeswalker cards ever printed, which is significant for the historical aspect, maybe not the lore though. Anyway, Magic Origins gave us Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh, which depicts a young Chandra being cornered by a pair of boats under a bridge. That never actually happened in the official stories, but she did get into some trouble on her home plane, so this kind of captures that in a very general way. This set also taught us that Chandra was born to Pia and Kieran Nalaar, who were inventors and loved their daughter very much. They also happened to be smugglers who kind of lived outside the law, believing everyone had a right to be free with equal access to a magical substance called Aether. On Kaladesh, this Aether was highly regulated by the local government, which put Chandra's family in conflict with the established order. This is kind of a red mana versus white mana thing for anyone taking notes. It all comes to a head when Chandra's family gets caught by a man named Baral. Baral worked for the consulate, the stuffy government of Kaladesh, and had tracked the Nalaar family to a small village outside Girapur, the largest city on the plane. Now at this point, Chandra had only recently discovered she was a pyromancer. This type of magic was not unheard of on Kaladesh, but it was persecuted by the consulate for 2 reasons. One, anyone who could do this type of magic without Aether wouldn't be dependent on the consulate. And 2, a lot of the fancy inventions and machines on the plane were delicate and did not react well to being lit aflame. This is kind of a red mana versus blue mana thing. Red tends to destroy artifacts, while blue builds them and learns from them. So anyway, the family is on the run trying to avoid detection when they get found by Baral, who mercilessly kills Chandra's father Kieran right in front of her. In the confusion, her mother Pia is missing and presumed dead as well, and Chandra herself is captured and brought back to Girapur to be executed in view of the public after Baral burns down the village that she's hiding in and blames her for starting the fire. Chandra is at an emotional high, believing both her parents are now dead. So just as Baral is about to swing his blade and take her life, her spark ignites and she planeswalks away from Kaladesh. Thus we have Chandra's origin, one born out of loss, grief, and distrust of governments and large agencies who impose too much rule over their own people. After escaping Kaladesh, she arrived at a plane called Regatha, specifically a place called Carol Keep, which was a monastery where the monks practiced their mastery of fire. Chandra, Acolyte of Flame, shows her at the keep where she's supposed to be meditating, but she hasn't quite matured enough to take things seriously. At this point, she's probably barely more than a teenager. The keep itself was founded by another planeswalker, Jaya Ballard. Unknown to Chandra at the time, Jaya was still there, disguising herself as Mother Luti and acting as a mentor to Chandra while she trained. And train she did. Eventually, she got involved in a hunt for a magical scroll that brought her to Zendikar, and there she encountered other planeswalkers like Jace and Gideon and even Sarkhan. But like I said earlier, this part of Chandra's story isn't great. nor super relevant to what happens beyond Origins, so we're just gonna burn through it. Oh, don't look at me like that, Nicole. It wouldn't be Arcanum if I didn't do at least one. Battle for Zendikar! Okay, here we go. Gideon and Jace were trying to save the plane from the awakened Eldrazi and came to Chandra for help, hoping to leverage their previous encounters, which I know I just said weren't important, and I stand by that. All you need to know is that these two came to Chandra and she initially turned them down. Eventually, her curiosity got the better of her, though, and she did hop over to Zendikar to see what had become of the place. She arrived just in time to rescue Jace, Gideon, and Nissa from the clutches of Ob Nixilis, and the foursome agreed working together would allow them to face even greater threats. This appealed to Chandra because as much as she appreciated and respected the monks that she knew at Carol Keep, she'd been looking for a sense of family ever since losing her parents back on Kaladesh, now probably about 10 years ago for her. So, Chandra Flamecaller depicts another turning point in her life. She's now grown from being a victim of the events on Kaladesh to someone who's able to do something about it and stand up for others who would suffer similar fates. She then works with her new friends to help save the plane of Zendikar, having Nissa help supplement her already impressive pyromancer magic with a boost of mana from the plane's own ley lines. This, I'll say channel fireball effect, required the two to share a very intimate connection as the mana flowed between them, and so some people see this as the start of a special relationship between the two characters, having experienced such a unique, magical moment. They don't have much time to explore their feelings, though, because the newly formed Gatewatch is needed elsewhere in the multiverse. The group next finds themselves on Innistrad, and we cover a lot of this in our video, Who Are the Gatewatch? So go watch that one if you haven't already. Chandra's story picks up again with the set Kaladesh, which is named after her home plane. The Gatewatch was hired by a Planeswalker named Dovin Baan to help provide security for a large inventors fair that was coming up. The Gatewatch is told that a rebel faction may try to disrupt the fair, but it turns out those rebels are being led by Pia Nalar, Chandra's mother, alive after all this time. Pia gets captured by the consulate, and Chandra and Nissa attempt a rescue, only to become stuck in a deadlock trap themselves, giving us our second very emotionally charged moment between the two planeswalkers as they confront the possibility of death inside a metal box. Before the writers can have too much fun with us, though, a Johnny Goldmane arrives and rescues the girls. They then go on to free Pia, and Chandra shares a cathartic reunion with her dear mom. The Gatewatch learns then that Tezzeret was the head judge at the Inventors Fair and used his position to confiscate all the best artifacts, on behalf of Nicol Bolas. Most noteworthy is the planar bridge, which will later be used in the War of the Spark. The rebel forces make one big push on the consulate and Tezzeret to try and recover the stolen inventions and rescue their creators. The Heart of Kirin was their flagship, named after Chandra's father, and on board was the Hope of Girapur, a weapon they planned to use to disrupt Tezzeret and the planar bridge. Chandra had her hands full, facing off again against Baral, and then Dovin when he tried to sabotage the Hope of Girapur, and finally against Tezzeret himself before he escaped with the bridge. Still, inspired by her victory and riding an emotional high after reconnecting with her mother, Chandra wanted the Gatewatch to pursue the fleeing Tezzeret immediately. Johnny, ever wise, cautioned them against this, insisting they needed time to gather reinforcements before attacking Nicol Bolas on his home turf. This is a red mana versus all the other colors thing, really. Chandra is impulsive and quick to act by nature, so she really didn't want to listen to everyone telling her to just chill out. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on your point of view, Liliana managed to persuade the rest of the group, and so they all went to Amonkhet. Someday I'll do a whole video on what happened there exactly, but since today we're just focusing on Chandra, I'll say this. Chandra learned a very important lesson in that you cannot use fire against an Elder Dragon. Just doesn't work. Nope. So the Gatewatch suffers a huge defeat. Jace gets trapped on Ixalan. Nissa is furious. She got dragged into another fight she didn't want, and then she leaves. And Chandra finds herself suddenly cut off from the family that she had grown to know and love over the last several years of adventures. She does still have Gideon and Liliana, so they set out to kill this demon that's causing trouble for the plane of Dominaria, and causing trouble for Liliana herself. This is where Chandra learns that Jaya had secretly been at Carol Keep this whole time after trying to track her down for additional help in the demon-slaying side quest. With their newfound allies, Teferi, Karn, Jaya, and the Weatherlight crew, the Gatewatch is able to acquire the Black Blade, which they think will help them in their next encounter with Nicol Bolas. Since again, the flames did nothing. Now we're all the way up to War of the Spark. Chandra arrived on Ravnica, and I covered everything that happens there in What's Happening in War of the Spark, so I won't say too much about it here. I will just recap everything that's happened. By this point in the story, Chandra has defeated the Eldrazi, joined the Gatewatch, discovered her mom was alive on Kaladesh and reunited with her, discovered Jaya's secret on Dominaria and befriended her, and defeated Nicol Bolas in War of the Spark. It seems like now the only thing Chandra can't do is openly express her feelings for Nissa, which has been hinted at since Battle for Zendikar and was brought up again in the War of the Spark official novel. For someone who's supposed to be in touch with their emotions and super passionate, it's kind of funny to me that this is the thing that she struggles with the most. Anyway, where will Chandra go next? Core Set 2020 doesn't give us much in the way of clues, but her Awakened Inferno card would suggest that she's now ready to take on anything, even as she recovers from the loss of her friend Gideon and the apparent betrayal by Liliana. While she figures out her next move, Standard has all the tools you need to create a Chandra deck, so we've got one down in the descriptions that's all about her, and then there's a budget Elementals deck that has her in it too. Either one would be perfect for your next game night, so hit up those links and grab the cards from TCGplayer along with all the other goodies from Core Set 2020. Then make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the great stories you'll only find here on Magic Arcanum. We'll see ya!